Welcome to the Architect My Life podcast. I'm Maya Schlachter, serial entrepreneur and CEO of the MGS Global Group, where we serve architecture and design firms with project delivery, such as drafting, 3D visualization, and graphics production support. I am also the founder of Architect My Life. My goal is to help creative entrepreneurs such as architects and other design-related professionals scale their business to 6 or 7 figures. I also show them how it's possible to do this while living a rich life outside their work, reclaiming time and energy for themselves and their families. Creatives were taught how to master their craft, but not taught how to run and grow a business. Each podcast episode features a different entrepreneur from the creative industry who shares their journey towards success. If you have a growth story that others in our community could benefit from hearing, stick around to the end of the show to see how you could be a guest in one of our future episodes. Now, let's dive into this episode.
Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in to Architect My Life podcast. This is your host, Romina. I hope everybody's having a tremendous and a fabulous day so far. And today's guest, as a matter of fact, is Lesley Braxton. Hey, Lesley, how are you today?
I am awesome. It's a beautiful day in Atlanta, so thanks for asking.
Absolutely. You got to love the weather. The summer is coming out, the cold weather. We kind of got tired of it, I feel like. But you guys, let me introduce you to Lesley a little bit. Lesley is the principal of Trahan Architects. Her work strikes a beautiful balance between courage and restraints, two qualities learned during her childhood. Her family relocated to 8 different states in her first 17 years, teaching Braxton to embrace change, optimism, and cultures of many. Braxton is a frequent guest speaker and critic at SCAD and Auburn University, where she received a Bachelor's of Architect and a Bachelor's of Interior Architecture. She's also a dedicated mentor to many young women, helping them develop career while giving her a deep look into their cultures. That's a lot. I mean, let's just stop for a bit. 8 states in 17 countries, 8 states in 17 years?
Yep. It was... Yeah, my dad is an engineer and he worked in the pulp and paper and we just had to go where the job were. So my 2 sisters and I, my mom, we just packed it up and left wherever we had to go.
So at a very young age, you got to learn adaptability and to build a high resilience then.
I think so. And I think what it's really done is good things and bad things. It makes me get twitchy. Like I feel like I kind of need this constant change and evolution and moving. But I do think that it's also caused me to be very nimble and I can kind of adapt to any situation that you put me in. Some are more comfortable than others, but yeah, I think that's probably why I'm sitting here today.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's very important to learn those skills, adaptability, learn your cultures, kind of see things from a different perspective at a very young age. So now it makes you very successful in your personal and business life. But let's actually get to know you a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about the position that you're at right now. How did it get started and what do you guys do exactly?
So I work for a company called Trahan Architects and we're based out of New Orleans in New York. And Trey and I have known each other for a couple years now. And he approached me while I was at a company called Perkins and Will. And he said, "Hey, I want you to come and start a higher education practice with me." And I just now's not the right time. And then a couple months ago, actually, I got that kind of, again, that urge to change. And I sent him a text. I said, "Hey, Trey, are you interested?" And he's like, "Can you start tomorrow?" And I practically did. So he and I are working on building a higher education practice for Trahan. It's a really incredible small business with incredibly beautiful high design project. So, this is when I started as an architect in school. I think this is kind of the place that I always wanted to be. So I feel like I finally kind of got there, wherever there is.
Well, that's good though, because that's where you find your passion. You feel like you're not working, even though you might be spending hours, staring at the screen or working away the hours.
Until midnight last night, working.
Now, let me ask you this, though. What is the biggest challenge or obstacle to start or even grow a business? Because right now you guys have a huge project on your hands.
Right. So I think part of the biggest challenge is the unknown. And working into a client base that may know me personally as a designer, as an architect, and in the higher education space, but doesn't know Trahan. So there's lots of time, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I keep saying I'm going to give myself 3 months. Mm-hmm. And in that 3 months, I'm going to spread the gospel. I'm going to tell everybody I can about how wonderful the people are that I work with, the type of work that we do, and what we're interested in, and start to kind of spread the network. And so each week I spend time, I try to schedule myself at least 3 to 4 lunches to meet with friends of friends, and then spend a lot of time just like calling and writing. And it's actually been pretty incredible. The response when you are, I don't want to call it selling, because it's not, it's you're
networking.
You're networking. And when you have something that you believe in and is different, it's incredibly easy to have these really meaningful conversations. And so that's the piece that I've loved.
Do you find yourself, once you're in your passion moment, do you find yourself just talking away with all, like, your face just lights up? You just get so excited and so happy. You're like, hold on a second, let me regroup. I'm way too excited.
I am kind of I'm a happy person. I've always been the glass half full sort of person. And I do think that I am naturally kind of more animated than most. I remember being in presentation training, and somebody was like, you've got to like hold your hands down by your side and stop dancing. And so then it just became a joke that, I would start interviews and tell them I was skilled in the art of interpretive dance if I was ever boring anybody. So I guess, but that goes back to being like, I feel like I've gotten to a point in my life. I'm 39. I've kind of figured out myself, and I'm comfortable with myself. And if I come across as like kooky and like a little vivacious, it's just, that's me. And that's what you get.
I love it, because once you like know your core self, and once you know what you like and dislike, and you fully transmit that to the audience or to whoever you're talking to, because you really truly resonating yourself, and that's amazing. I mean, unfortunately not a lot of people reach that stage, and that's why this podcast is here, you guys, to help you architect your life in your terms, so this way you'd be able to reach that higher level, higher potential. Now, Lesley, I'm sure 2020 has affected you one way or another too, because I don't know if you're aware, but like the news, everything is covering. We are kind of going through a global pandemic.
I heard that.
Yeah. So just, so few people have heard that. But how has COVID affected your work, your business?
The walls caved in on me, quite literally. I was, I kind of took all my stuff home, expecting to be home for, 2-3 weeks. And what was really kind of funny is before all of this even started is that I was working on a project in Wuhan.
Okay.
And I was supposed to actually be in China 2 weeks before everything shut down. And, our friends in China kept going, no, we can't do this. You can't come over. And so we canceled everything. And then of course, pandemic hits, and you're like, wow, I could have been at the epicenter of all of this. But we had this cute little house in a corner. I've got 2 kids, they're 10 and 7. And when they couldn't go to school, my office was the kitchen table. And, the constant swirling of life and school and work, it just didn't work. And so I put my house on the market, sold it, moved a mile down the road, got an office with a door.
So you made a lot of changes during the year.
And then I quit my job and started another one. So no big deal, right?
Yeah, no big deal. Well, I love it because a lot of people, I read a quote a while back. It says, if 2020 didn't bring the hustle in you, it was never in you. Because a lot of people made some major changes in 2020. And even if it went up or down, they've learned a lot about business, about themselves, big life lessons, I would say.
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard that. But
that's my favorite quote from the whole 2020.
It's so good. Yeah.
I feel like 2020 was like 5 years condensed in one, but
no, it did. And it caused me to, and I've heard this from a lot of people, just to rethink. You gain a new perspective when you're kind of forced to be all together, but I'm so thankful for it. I'm thankful for every second that I've had with my family. I was on the road, 3-4 days a week, airplanes, East Coast, West Coast. My husband and I would high five in the Atlanta airport and be like, "You got the kids?" And thank God for my mother-in-law, because she handled so much. So it was that ability to kind of reset, restore, refuel moment that I had.
What would you say was your biggest lesson for you from 2020, or the biggest wake up call that you just kind of changing perspectives on how you see things now?
Go for it. I think I've always been, let's do this. Let's kind of, figure stuff out. But I've also been very calculated, and I think through things. And this just showed me that it gave me that life is short moment. And if you want to make change, just make the change. Nothing is forever. Nothing. So if you want to try something, go try it. And I did.
Absolutely. And now let me ask you this, because you say you're calculated. Do you make a pros and a cons list typically when you're looking into a new idea?
I do a weighted pro con list.
Okay. Explain.
And I do it graphically.
Okay.
Because some decisions have a bigger weight, right? A yes in one category might not be as strong of a yes in another category. So I've been using a tool, Miro. I don't know if it's Miro or Miro. And I make these bubbles, and I kind of do these scales of yeses and nos. And then you have this kind of graphic sensibility of decision making. And it's been really helpful for me. And I've actually started to translate that into projects when we do go, no goes, a yes, no, it doesn't always work. So
that's very interesting. I think I want to look more into that, because I always do the pros and the cons. But I feel like if you do that, it's also with prioritization of both sides too.
Right. Yes. You can't just check the boxes.
No, we're going to the Ivy Lee method here, prioritizing as well, which is important.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this. What are the most important personality traits that you have or somebody needs to have in order to be successful in business?
Well, I think everybody has a different tactic, and mine is really kind of focused around openness. I have always kind of given my full self to the people that I work with. I don't want to say I'm honest to a fault, but I'm transparent. I can't hide anything with this face, which makes tough conversations kind of hard sometimes. I can be emotional, but I've kind of used that to my to help grow my teams. Right now I work with a highly intuitive, highly emotional group of people that share feelings. And to me, that's everything. Men included. Everybody is important. Yeah, everybody is very open. And I think that personality trait is why people kind of gravitate and feel safe with me. And when you're building a business, you want people to look at you and go, "Oh my gosh, I love you. I can work with you. Let's do this. Let's figure it out." And I think that's just something that's naturally part of who I am.
From all the projects that you've worked throughout your lifetime, what would be the ideal project? Or if you had the ideal project for your career, would you like sharing with us?
You know what? I feel like I've worked on some pretty incredible things, and I'd like to actually think of the ideal project as this kind of golden Venn diagram of having a client that wants to do something incredible. They want to think beyond where they are today, where they are tomorrow, how can we change the future? So that's one part. And then having a project team that is incredibly compatible, because I don't know if you've ever worked on a project and you have people that have rifts in the relationship, it makes it tough. So that kind of client, the project team, and then of course the project itself, so a project that can evoke change and can cause me and my team to just think differently, I think, and ask ourselves hard questions. What is this building trying to do and achieve? And, So Venn diagram.
Well, I feel like those harder projects and those challenging projects that sometimes you're like, oh, this is great, let's look at it. And then once you digest it or you do a reverse engineering, you're like, okay, there's a lot to be done in here. Now,
Right.
how do we, operations with with the planning, with everything, how do we all stay in the same page?
Right.
All, 10 or 20 or 500 of us, depending how big the team is. And that itself not only motivates you to stay focused, but also I feel like sometimes it triggers new ideas in your head because of the brainstorming you might have in a group.
Oh, yeah.
Even, I don't know if this happens to you when I'm on a drive, that's where my best time of brainstorming by myself. And that's where like the ideas come about. Does that happen to you too?
Oh, yes. Like
Especially Atlanta traffic. I mean, you have a lot of time.
I miss, you know what? That's funny you said that about traffic, about having that time to kind of reset. I miss that. That not the traffic, but the reset time to do exactly that.
Your you time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I have had to be a lot more intentional with giving myself headspace, because it's easy to sit down at, I send my kids to school at 7:30 and then I'm right here. And then my kids come home and they swirl around me, and then it's dinner time and I'm usually back here. So, there used to be like lots of kind of highs and lows in the day. And right now it's just kind of this.
But I feel like you need the highs and the lows, because kind of go back to the traffic. When I used to live in Atlanta, I lived downtown. I worked Sandy Spring. So, that drive early in the morning, HOV lane, it's a no. So you would have to be stuck anytime on 75. But I love that. Or even here in Florida, I love when you get stuck in traffic, which I'm like, okay, slow down the music. Let's think for a minute. This is some me time. This is me spending time with myself, compared to you just being frustrated. Like, oh my God, I'm in traffic. I need to go home. But it's like, okay, if you went home 10 minutes later, what's going to change? Nothing
I'm
major.
so glad you said that, because I used to listen to NPR's How I Built This all the time. And I loved it. I loved it. And that reminds me, I need to like get back into that. So get my good habits back.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, the audience listening out here, if you are driving to work or coming back from work and listening to this podcast, just know you made a really good investment, because podcasts are very popular nowadays to be listened on, on the route to work or while you're working out or anything of that nature. But yes, I feel like we all kind of are frustrated. We need some me time, all of us on our own, even though we love whoever we're around. But that is important. I haven't thought of it till now, but I do miss that me time, honestly.
Yeah, I can agree.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and Lesley, let's just talk a little bit about, where do you see the firm going in 3 months from now? I know you're working a lot, like you mentioned earlier, you're up till midnight. Where do you see the firm going 3 months from now, or the project that you're working on?
Gosh, sometimes I don't know what's going to happen in an hour, let alone, a day, a week, a month. So, I think the goal right now is, while we're spreading the gospel, as I have been saying, that we have people that start to envision projects on their campus, for themselves, whatever it is, that they are reminded of our conversations and start to call us. I think that would be my dream outcome in the next 3 months. And then truly, we've been shortlisted for a couple really small but impactful jobs. And I hope that we win them, so that in 3 months from now, you'll call me and I can tell you that we're working on these pretty remarkable projects. So,
awesome. And then let's actually let the audience know where they can get a hold of you to keep you accountable maybe 3 months from now too.
Oh yeah, sure. So my email address is lbraxton@trahanarchitects.com. And if you just Google Trahan Architects, you can find me under the people section, and you have full access to my contact. And any women that or men that are looking to evolve in their careers, I love mentoring, and it's an exceptional space to be in. It's also very hard. So I get that too.
Absolutely. And for you guys to make sure, Trahan is spelled Trahin. So
Trahan.
We'll do the editing. And for you guys listening, the Trahan is spelled Trahan. So you can definitely make sure to connect with Lesley there. Thanks so much for being a part of Architect My Life podcast today. We really appreciate your time, Lesley.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And for you, my dear listeners, make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you are listening to this podcast from, wherever you get your podcast juice from. And if it is Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us a 5-star review and a short comment. Tell us how much you are enjoying our podcast so far. Your host, Romina, here. Till our next episode, I hope you guys have a fabulous week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Architect My Life podcast. We'd love to hear from you on social media using the hashtag Architect My Life podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Aya_Architect My Life. That's Aya, AYA_Architect My Life. And for women firm owners, I invite you to join the Architect My Life private Facebook group. If you haven't already, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the show, as well as rate or review us wherever you access podcasts. And if you think you have something to add to the conversation through your success running a business, we invite you to apply to be a guest in one of our upcoming episodes. Visit architectmylife.com/podcast to learn more. Maybe you're not in a position to share your success story yet. That's okay. Take your business to the next level with our coaching and online courses. Get everything you need at architectmylife.com. Remember, there is a way to manage it all so you can achieve more. I'm Maya Schlachter. Thanks again for listening.